Okay, I think that we are live. So, this is the second episode of Thrillfest, and I am just waiting for more people to join us. And then, as soon as I get James Wade in, lovely, fantastic, and incredible influencer, Jordan Wade. So I just sent the invite, James. Oh, let's see. Did it work? Yay! Thank you. Oh my God. Look at you two. I mean, yeah.
You like the hair?
Jordan, can I just tell you, I will follow you to the ends of the earth.
Thanks,
The
Carol.
ends of the, you know how much I would kiss my screen, but I don't want to put marks all over it.
We love you too.
Oh my gosh. And I was told by my dear friend Michelle to let you both know that we brought our Halloween game tonight.
Ooh.
Because last year you guys cleaned up with your decorations and all the fun things that you did. I was so jealous. And my friend Michelle was like, we got to up them Wades this year. So
hey, y'all did wonderful, but you really, it was a low bar because our 2-year-old kicked us out of the house. So now
I love it.
Now our only decoration is just, I guess, like the kind of creepy trees behind us. That's about all we got.
Yeah.
I'm Team Juniper. You cannot convince me otherwise. I'm sorry. Just the way it goes. Our friend is back, as you can see.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
oh, right? My gosh, I love it.
Right. So he's only available 31 days out of 1 month in a year. So, but he was like, please, I need to get back. Everybody who is watching, welcome to Top Shelf Live Thrillfest. Hello to all of our Merrick Library patrons and viewers near and far. I am so glad to see you. Thank you all for tuning in tonight. I have quite the guests. Author James Wade, who you can see below the screen here, and the incredible influencer Jordan Wade. I am so happy that you are here. James, you are a three-peat offender. I am glad you're back because it was about 2 years ago that I first hosted you on Facebook Live. And I didn't know what I was doing then either. So now, and then last year I hosted the both of you, which was such a treat for me personally. And you guys were the first guests on our Top Shelf Live Instagram edition. And again, I still don't know what I'm doing. But we're going to see what happens. We're going to wing it. And then I have to tell you, James, this year, just today, Library Journal sponsored its Day of Dialogue. And that's where I first saw you.
Is that right?
Yes. So that's where I first saw you for All Things Left. And that book just knocked me out. And I remember immediately, I think I either reached out to Blackstone directly, the publisher, and said, please, will this man be on the podcast? And that begins our fantastic relationship, or as I like to call it, the Battle of the Accents. So.
Hey, you didn't catch that game last night, did you, Carol Ann?
I did catch that game last night. I sure did. Yes.
All right. I wasn't going to bring it up, but this whole Battle of the Accents thing, you know?
But I have to say, I may lose viewers at this. I am a Mets fan, so.
Oh, so you were already all right then.
I didn't have to color my hair, so I'm really good. I'm not right, so I'm just cheering for the home team, but it's not the Mets, so that's fine. They're golfing, and I'm sure having a marvelous time out there. A marvelous time. However, it was a very good football weekend, and the Jets did great. So,
absolutely, 4-2. They're the real deal.
And Buffalo, is it Buffalo? No, the Giants are 5-1.
That's right. So,
We'll take all of that. I don't know if you guys are Dallas fans or not, so I'm not sure. Yeah, okay.
I grew up a Dallas fan, but there's only so much of Jerry Jones that a man can take.
I feel that from way over here on the East Coast. Right. So I feel that, especially now with everything that's going on with the NFL. Yes. But we are not here to talk about that horror story. We're here to talk about different horror stories. And what I'm going to do is, we already talked about opening this up to, like we did last year, our favorites of the year for horror and thriller, etc. So it's it's a great group. It's a great category. We love horror. This is near and dear to our hearts. Every time I tell someone I buy the horror collection for the library, they think I'm crazy. They think that possibly couldn't be true, but it's true. Okay, so we can split this up into 3 categories and see how far we get. Books, movies, streaming, podcasts, whatever you guys want to do. And whichever genre you'd like to start with is fine by me. Jordan, James, whoever wants to go first, let me have it.
Sure. So, hi, thanks so much for having us. We're so happy to be back again. Yeah, so this year I actually wanted to go with some short stories. First of which is because we have a 2-year-old and she is absolutely brilliant, which means she is also a absolute handful. And, you know, James being a full-time writer, he's not only writing books, he's dealing with the business side of things. So we just have way less time in general. So short stories kind of, they're easy to fit in. But, you know, the ones that we picked for today are not without their layers and their metaphors. So I figured that was the perfect choice for this. So,
and I love that because horror short stories pack such a punch that it leaves you sort of bowled over when you get to that. And you're just as brilliant as Juniper for picking short stories. I love it.
Well, thank you.
I love that you did that. So go ahead, please.
Yeah. So the short story that I chose is by Joe Lansdale, which I think we talked about him last year.
Yep.
We're just fans of him in general. So this one, I kind of cheated. It's not from this year. It's from a decade ago. It's from an anthology of short stories in 2012. And this one's called The Hunt, Before and the Aftermath. And so, you know, it's going to be a good story because it's Lansdale. He just packs it in. And like you were saying, because it's short, there's so much, you know, meat there. And then it's the end and you're left just kind of in awe with your jaw on the floor. So it opens with this kind of tense scene between a husband and wife, and they're riding on a train. And it's quickly revealed that the husband has had an affair. But the real big punch kind of happens after a bunch of good-natured kind of prose and pacing. It's revealed that the person that he slept with was actually a zombie.
Naturally.
Yeah. So he has paid a boatload for his wife to go on this zombie hunting safari where she gets to go kill this woman that he slept with. Yeah.
Zombie woman.
So zombie woman. Yeah. And she was a zombie at the time that she slept with him. As I was reading it, I wasn't sure, but that just makes it even that much more twisted. Yeah. So anyways, it's a really, really good story. But although it's quick and kind of packs a punch, it's not without its layers and metaphors. So, you know, it kind of touches on capitalism and apathy, and it kind of takes a look at just modern culture. So it was a really fun read, but it had those extra layers. But I think what really kept the narrative going was the interplay between the husband and wife. And my takeaway is that despite all of the craziness that can be happening in our lives, and in this short story, this insane zombie hunting scene, which is just like so good, you know, the most intimate issues that we face are our relationships that we have between each other. So yeah, it was a really good read.
And that's what, to me, and I don't know if you feel this way, Carol Ann, but that's what kind of makes or breaks, like we suspend our disbelief for any story because we're good readers and viewers, and we're like, we'll come with you on the ride. But what really makes it sing or not is the characters, and, you know, if they feel real and if the relationships feel real, because no matter what the situation is, and of course situations in horror and sci-fi, like, you know, those get really crazy. But yeah, I mean, this is like, and this is so wild. It's literally you know, you try to think of what would happen if we have a zombie apocalypse. There's so many books and movies out there on this, and they literally, in Lansdale's movie, they're like, all right, how do we monetize it? Well, let's get these high fence hunts going on. And we live in the hill country, and like every other property is like a 12-foot fence where somebody can pay, you know, $6,000 to go out and kill a few deer over the weekend. And sure enough, they're like, oh, as soon as we quit seeing people as people and just see them as zombies or others or whatever, then we can just pay to go hunt them. And so anyway, it's a absolutely just batshit crazy story, but it's pulled together so it's so grounded by the relationship of the husband and wife. And it's like, I don't know how Joe was able to marry those two things and make it seem just so nonchalant, I feel like is a word. Like,
it was super
like,
casual.
Yeah, it was like this casual story of this couple on the train, and like he never like tried to like go, wow, shocking or anything. And anyway, but yeah, that's a great pick. I remember reading that a few years ago. And a lot of our stuff, I was gonna say, like for readers out there that they don't, they want to read all these authors, but maybe they don't have time to read, 20 different authors. These anthologies, Stephen Jones for years and years has done the best new horror anthologies, and man, you can find so much good stuff in there from writers that or writers that you're gonna discover. My short story is, I'm gonna go a different direction. I'm gonna do Michael Marshall Smith's Sad Dark, and all I'm gonna say, and I don't know, this might backfire, but all I'm gonna say is it is the best, most disturbing, most had to sit there for a long time afterwards and not say anything to anybody.
Can you just say the title again? Because you broke up just a little bit.
Absolutely. It's called Sad Dark Thing. And it's by Michael Marshall Smith. And it's in a few different publications. I read mine in the Best New Horror Anthology, volume 23, but I've seen it elsewhere on the web. And that's all I'm going to say. And hopefully that will get people to go read it, and they can read it without me ruining it by trying to analyze it at all. And then you can email me and I'll analyze it with you online or something like that.
Well, and I read that one too, actually, and despite the fact that it is a horror story, there's this. I left the reading with this feeling of it was just so beautiful.
Yeah.
And that was, I love where you can, stories that you can get both of those things from.
Yeah, I think when we were researching, one of the things that I noticed was that it seems like there's two very distinct versions of horror, whether it's, film or book or, whatever the medium is, podcast, which I want to talk about in a second. But it's like, it's fun, youthful, we're having a good time. And then that's like the slasher genre. Is like
right.
the slasher
like
comes.
Saw,
Yeah, the slasher comes in to ruin the good time. Like kids, youthful, not a care in the world. And
My Bloody Valentine from
yes, exactly.
I love that movie. The original, not that the second one is bad, but the original just scares
right.
me. Awful.
Well, all of the Halloweens and Friday the 13th. I mean, it's all this. It's all a very similar movie, done over and over, but to great effect. But then there's the flip side of that, which is like the very dark and depressing movies that are like the non-horror aspects of the movie are already dark.
Right.
In other words, I was thinking about Scott Cooper. I think it was this year that Scott Cooper's Antlers came out, because they had pushed it several times through the pandemic. But Scott Cooper, when I saw that he was doing this movie, I was like, what the hell? Because I love Scott Cooper. He did Out of the Furnace,
yes.
Into the Furnace, and what is it, Savages or something like. Anyway, he does all these like grit lit, abuse, addiction, poverty, all these things. And so I was really excited to see that he was teaming up with Guillermo del Toro to do like this creature feature almost thing. And so I'm watching that, and even before we're introduced to the quote unquote monster, it already feels like this very grim film because of the poverty that they're in, because of the abuse that the main characters are trying to fight off from their past. And so anyway, it's those two marriages, right, of like horror from that already starts as something very dark and depressing, or the horror that the characters have no idea is coming, and they're just like on Paradise Island until somebody with a hook shows up.
Right.
But anyway, but that just always struck me that there, and I'm sure we could micro categorize so many little strings and threads, but those were just kind of like the biggest two that separated it for me. I don't know if y'all feel the same way about that, but.
And there's so many subgenres in horror now, thankfully, because I feel like we've been waiting a long time, and now everyone's just kind of they're going in so many different directions. And I, as a horror person, I am so appreciative for that.
Yes.
And before we get into some of your other choices, and I will talk to the person who buys the horror for the library and make sure we have those. Oh, that's me, to make sure that we have those in. And I got a huge Joe Lansdale collection, and I believe there are some short stories in there. So I will make sure to boost those every chance I get. But I do want to talk about my book very quickly. See, there's this brand new release that came out like this week, and it's called Beast of the Earth, and it's by this guy named James Wade.
Yeah.
And the reviews are astounding. It is his third book, so congratulations, James. This book is such a knockout, and I'm lucky to have been there for each of these. I've read them, I have loved them, and man, as your prose is so gorgeous in each of these books, and
Thank
this
you.
one is no, I know, it's really just, we could re-record this and you can just sort of show it in your house somewhere. But the prose that you have is so gorgeous. You deliver in each book 3 different horrific characters, and they appear in your books. We have Grimes from All Things Left Wild, the Thin Man from River Sing Out, and then you give us Monday Fisher. What are you doing? What are you doing? And when I say horrific, they are malevolent humans in separate ways, but malevolent nonetheless. I don't even know what to say about Monday Fisher. I think, when I think about Grimes, and he was really, really dark, but then so was the Thin Man. I know we've talked about this 100 times. When you go that dark, do you ever creep yourself out? Do you ever get a little scared? And then if Jordan's reading, you're like, honey, I just wrote this scene, check it out. Are you like, honey, I'm going to go sleep on the couch. I'm going to, or go in the motorhome. How do you, when you write that, where does your headspace go?
Oh, I mean, Jordan calls it book brain.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I creep myself out so much as just kind of depress myself, because it's not, I don't know if this is the right way to say it, but it's not a huge reach to create these characters because they're out there. When you're not writing science fiction, but you have these horrific people, that's kind of worse, right? Is because while we might know that there's no Freddy Krueger or whatever, like the characters that I write, they're out there, and it's not a stretch to see similar things in the headlines all the time. Like, you don't have to dig for it, in other words, right? Like, if it's some rare breed of bird that there's only 2 in the world, you could still say, well, it's out there. But no, these are common, the themes I deal with in all 3 of the books, but greed, abuse, sexual assault of children, which is, again, that's a horrible thing. Saying it out loud doesn't sound or taste right on your tongue, but at the same time, this is not an infrequent thing. And so you have to not create because they're already there. You have to call out these monsters in order to get to the people, their victims, and see how they cope with it. And that's kind of the story, right? That's what Beast of the Earth is not about. Monday Fisher, as awful as he is, it's about the things that he does to his family and how they try to cope with that, and there's no right way to do it because it's just a hell of a situation. But yeah, of the three monsters, since this is a horror chat, Monday scares me way worse than the other 2. Grimes really did not believe he was a bad guy.
He sure doesn't. No,
he just had kind of just a mixed up thing. And the Thin Man, he might have been the most deadly, but he wasn't. If you didn't do anything wrong, then you probably don't have anything to worry about. I mean, he was more of just like justice and consequence. For Monday, I mean, buddy, you could just be walking down the street at the wrong time of day, and you might end up in a pretty lethal situation. And so that's kind of what scares me more, is people that just make you uncomfortable. And I've told somebody this before when I was having a chat about Beast of the Earth, is where I grew up, we might, especially when I was a dumbass teenager, I might end up out at a farm with people that were 30 years older than me, and I didn't know a single one, or maybe I knew one person there. And all of a sudden, I'm half drunk sitting around a fire, and there's some guy that's been out of prison for 10 minutes, and he's looking at me weird, and it's a lot of times that type of character knows that, right? And so they'll come up to you and just try to kind of intimidate you or creep you out and say these just weird things, but then you think about it later and think, well, maybe it wasn't that weird, and so some of the stuff that Monday says towards the beginning of the book to the unfortunate souls that he comes across, some of those were things that I remember exact conversations where people said that shit to me, and I was just like, you know what, I'm gonna not delve deeper into this, and just I think I left my something over here, and so I'm just gonna go. But yeah, I mean, you know, like I said, I think what makes it scary is I don't have to create these people; they're just already out there, you know.
Well, when I read the first draft of all of his works, I mean, it's no mystery that James Wade writes dark stuff, to put it lightly.
With a thread of hope. With a thread
With
of
a
hope.
thread
I
of
was
hope,
just going to say there is hope.
there is hope. Thank goodness for that. But you know, when I read the first drafts of these, I can't even allow myself to wonder how he gets there. So it becomes like an ignorance is bliss situation for me. And I just go, oh, he's having book brain. I don't even want to know. Like, honey, it's beautiful. It's really messed up. I'm going to go to bed. Like, you can sleep in this bed too if you want. Like, you know, it's an ignorance is bliss situation.
Put
for
one
sure.
of those big long pillows in between us.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
right.
It's a body pillow, and it's like,
I
don't
love you,
wanna
honey,
know.
but love you, Nick, bud. I'm just saying, you know. Stay,
Yeah.
stay for- Also, in Beasts of the Earth, and I don't want to spoil too much of it, but there is an Easter egg for those people who read All Things Left Wild. I don't want to spoil anything, but there's Mitchell Calhoun. I'm not going to say anything.
Well, listen, I the easiest way to do it without a spoiler is I've got a buddy who's a prosecutor up in Collin County. He's the youngest deputy chief of the Collin County Court that they've ever had. In fact, he just won a really awful murder trial last week, where a guy had murdered his sister and his sister's boyfriend, and was rightfully, in my opinion, found guilty, and in the opinion of the jury as well. But I lean on him a lot for things like in Beasts of the Earth. One of the things that our main character Harlan LeBlanc wants to know is, you know, hey, what's the minimum sentence for murder? How often do you win a murder without a confession? So, you know, I'm leaning on Luke's expertise for this, and his name is Mitchell Luke Calhoun, and so I always try to throw him into the books somewhere. And for this one, I thought it would be perfect if he wrote basically like a, you know,
Don't say it. Don't say it.
all right, I won't say it.
Don't
All right,
find it.
all right, I
Don't
won't say
find
it.
it.
Got it. Well, he's in there and he does something cool.
We are live here, James.
All right.
Calm down.
Give the people a hook. Let them.
All right. I just want to tell the whole story.
Don't.
You know?
Nope. Zero.
And just really quick, I also know that part of your book tour you hosted, or Sarah Bird was, and you were with Sarah Bird, and she was here at Merrick Library to do a book discussion. She zoomed in from Austin, and she is a superstar, the biggest girl crush. I adore her, and it was so. Then when I saw the two of you, I'm like, my Texas worlds are colliding.
Yes.
All right, so that's
She's
it.
one of my favorite people, not in just the literary world, but in the world over. And it makes sense that you two connected. I can see y'all hitting it off real well. And
My gosh,
and man, she's anything that she has to do with, it's going to be a fun time.
Oh my! All right, so now I've just spoken about my three favorite books, but I have more. But let's just see, we're running out of time. Go ahead, Jordan. Bring us your next item.
Sure. Yeah. So my next, it's a short, but it's a TV short. So it's the part of the American Horror Stories anthology.
So good.
I think it's episode 1 of season 2. Is that right? Yeah, I think that's right. So it's the Dollhouse episode. I don't know if you've had a chance to see it.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So in this episode, as you know, there's a bunch of women who are basically imprisoned in this mastermind doll maker's life-size dollhouse, and they are put to task in this really messed up competition to do these tasks that, you know, many mothers or maids or just women in general might be expected to do. And if they're not the best at it, then they get murdered in the exact same way that the doll maker's cheating wife and her lover were murdered in. So yeah, it's pretty brutal. But anyways, so, and then he's also looking for someone who, you know, basically the winner of this competition becomes his new wife. And
joy.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a real fun show. And
I thought it was great. I'm with you, Jordan.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, it's a newer episode, so I don't want to do too many spoilers, but it's got this not so thinly veiled metaphor about women being trapped in these roles and not being able to breathe, which in a certain scene, there is a porcelain encased woman. So that's the not so thinly veiled part. But yeah, so the twist at the end, if you've seen it, is just, I didn't see it coming. And
I didn't see it coming either. And I'm glad you're not like James Wade trying to spoil everything. Not supposed to spoil
Oh,
it.
you guys mean when
No, James.
No. So yeah, it ties back in and it's amazing. And my jaw was on the floor and I almost wanted to rewatch it again because Juniper had already gone to bed and we had an extra 30 minutes. So I was like, let's watch it again.
That's right.
But so anyways, it's a must see and it just checked all the boxes for a horror for me.
Well, I'll tell you guys, some of the things that I enjoyed, just like super lightning round, is I really liked the movie Prey that they did, the kind of the new take on the Predator series. I loved the movie X, which was kind of a new take on the slasher, and then we have not seen the follow-up Pearl, but I can't wait to. But I'm gonna go in a different direction. I'm gonna mix it up because we're live with a podcaster, so you might appreciate the fact there is a new horror podcast that just came out last week. It's called Beneath. Our good buddy Owen Edgerton, who wrote and directed Bloodfest, Follow, Mercy Black. I think all of those are on Netflix at this point. But Owen wrote and directed and starred in alongside a supremely talented voice cast this podcast called Beneath, and it's so neat. The premise is that an eccentric billionaire has all these high-tech toys, and he's gotten a professor of ancient religions and all these scientists and all these things, and they are going back to the wreckage of the Titanic to look for these supposed artifacts and treasures and, basically grave robbing this legendary ship, all under the guise of, like scientific research. But once they get down there, things are not as they seem beneath, right? All right, there's the pitch. But what's so interesting about this is because I had never even heard of fictional podcasts, right? Like my podcasts are bookish podcasts, Top Shelf with Merrick Library, Bourbon Bookshelf, Desideratum, Deckled Edge, all these things. The only one I've ever listened to, and it's not fiction, but the only narrative podcast was she got me to listen to S-Town earlier this year, which to me is just the most amazing podcast. But then I started thinking about it more as Owen was explaining this to me, and I'm like, so much of horror is auditory, right? Yeah. Like I can, I mean, how many,
just listen to my first episodes of Top Shelf. I'm sure that's auditory horror.
Yeah. But if you think, no, that's not frank. True at all. If you think about like the famous movie scores that resonate with us, they're almost all, Jaws or Halloween or whatever. And it's because they impact the tone so much. I remember when I was little, my dad was watching The Shining, and I was probably like 3 or 4, way too young to watch The Shining. And so I said, this is scary. And he said, what is scary about this? Watch. And he turned the sound off, and it's literally just a nice family driving through the Rocky Mountains, having a lovely mountain vacation. And so much of our terror is in
vacation.
Sound, Yeah, I mean, right.
I still have to, if a scene gets too scary in something, I'll say, I'm going to plug my ears, tap me when it's over.
Yeah.
Like, it's
I mean,
auditory, huge
outside of what we can see. I think what we can hear is what scares us the most. I mean, think about lying in your bed at night and then, what was that noise? You just heard a bump. It's literally called a bump in the night.
Just ask Mr. Tack. He will tell you all about what it's like to live with me.
Yeah, she woke me up the other night because she was sure that there were balloons hitting a fan somewhere, even though we didn't have a fan on and there were no balloons in the house. So
I thought someone was rattling the doorknob first, and then I was like, maybe it's balloons hitting a fan, but yeah.
Anyway, it makes sense to have a horror podcast because of how auditory it is. And these guys do a great job. I was not expecting this. They have like sound effects, like it sounds like they're recording on a ship in the middle of, the North Atlantic. I mean, it's good stuff.
I'm all in on that. I cannot wait to listen.
But there's our takes on some cool stuff between now and Halloween. Just try to scare the shit out of you. Yeah. We're live. I can say that, right?
I do want to say that one book that came out that is a combination of Alien meets the Titanic is this sci-fi horror, which checks off almost every box I have. Alien meets the Titanic. So the idea is this cruise ship cruise in every sense of the word, space cruise ship, goes into outer space, and it is a ship that is reserved for the 1%, and the spaceship is designed like a cruise ship. And suddenly the ship, well, not suddenly, but the ship goes missing.
Oh.
And there's a salvage ship that's out there, and they get a distress call. Don't answer distress calls in space. Don't, unless it's me, don't do it. I'm sending the distress call from space. Don't answer it. But so that when you mentioned Owen Edgerton, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like the perfect storm of fabulousness for
Yes.
those readers. And then I have to tell you, I love Nope.
Oh, yes.
I haven't seen that yet. Have you seen that?
No, we haven't seen that yet. That is probably going to be our Halloween night viewing while the daughter goes with the
Jordan
grandparents. Yeah, that's
God.
Jordan Peele's new one.
2 words, Jordan Peele. He
That's-
can do no wrong. Talk about checking off all the boxes. And
Yes.
then I loved Black Phone.
I haven't seen that either.
That's
I'm so behind.
that's old man
Joe
old man
Hill.
Hawk's son.
Yes.
What?
Ethan
Oh.
Hawke.
Oh, okay.
Who,
I
by
can
the way,
remember
lives in
Ethan.
Brooklyn now. Oh my gosh. And if you haven't seen,
Oh, is that the one that was pitted up against Prey recently?
No.
There was an article. No, what was
That was up against Don't Worry, Darling, and it Don't Worry, Darling had to worry because Smile beat him 2 weeks in a row.
I see. Okay.
and I will say, I agree that Prey, I went in not knowing anything about
Yeah.
it. Nothing. I didn't know the origin. I didn't know any of that. And that particular story, because I loved the origin tale so much and could probably recite, I'm just going to say I do an Arnold Schwarzenegger imitation that I'm the only one that thinks is spot on. I'm not going to do it now. Maybe I'll do it next year. But I do an imitation no one in my family thinks is good. But I did not know about the origin story of Prey. I mean, and then when I saw it, I was like all in. It was fantastic.
Well, and I think they set themselves up really nicely to do that with really whatever time period they want now. Just go drop a Predator in colonial Virginia or in Genghis Khan's army of Huns, like whatever.
It was great. I loved it. I will probably say that even with the movies that I just showed, it's probably my favorite of the year so far.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
I think our favorite, and tell me if I'm speaking out of turn, was probably X,
I'll
right?
tell you.
Oh, that is great.
Oh yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, that was so good.
I think that was probably tops for us. But as we just saw through the majority of your posters, we still have a lot of catching up to do. We're gonna have to.
You guys are parents. You've got listen,
Yes.
the rules the roost.
Well, hell,
So,
Juniper's
don't-
old enough to watch horror movies now. She's 2.5. You know, I mean.
Well, apparently we're already grooming her to enjoy horror movies because she can watch dinosaur shows and she's like, oh, they're so cute and little. I'm like, honey, no, they're big and ferocious and terrifying. So anyway, she's on the right path.
And then lastly, I want to talk about this book that is coming out in February by Johnny Compton, who is from Texas.
That's right.
And I didn't know that until after I looked it up because I like to go in not knowing anything. I'm like, what is it with me in Texas? Dare I say, y'all got me hook, line, and sinker. But
Wow.
That was pretty good.
We're gonna capture that and use it for some kind of promo.
Yes.
I'm crying right now. Oh my gosh. But this is a scary as heck haunted house book. I love it. I cannot wait to host Johnny on the podcast or a live or wherever he will have me. I am all in on this fantastic, scary as heck book. So that is all I have to say. I mean, I have more things. This one comes out. This is.
Oh yes.
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 I've been seeing that everywhere.
So I had the privilege of meeting Erica at the Western Writers Conference a couple years ago, and she was like, I'm writing this book, or maybe she had just finished it, and she was like, it's kind of like a modern ghost story situation, and I was just like, cool, I'll keep my eye out for it. Obviously, I did not have to keep my eye out for it. It is everywhere. She's on every list. She's getting all the love, and I haven't read it, but I'm sure deservingly so. So that is on like the top of my November to TBR in November is basically White Horse and Cormac McCarthy's 2 novels, and that's
Yeah,
it.
that's a big one. Yeah.
That's, I mean, and they're like gigantic too. So yes, I'm reading. I have the galleys of those, but this is just phenomenal. It is a terrific. It comes out on November 1st, I think I wrote down here. Yes, November 1st.
Oh, I can't wait.
Yeah. So this indigenous woman is Kari. She's given this bracelet that belonged to her mother. Is it haunted? What secrets will be unburied? I'm telling you, folks, hold on to your hats. So we are at 7:34. Folks, I'm just going to say it again. Please check out Beasts of the Earth. Check it out. Go to your local independent bookstore. Just find this book. I think we did a pretty good job of not giving any spoilers.
Yeah, thanks to y'all. Appreciate that.
For Beasts of the Earth. You guys, you can come back on any holiday, Valentine's Day, St. Patrick's Day, you pick it, we will host it.
Fair enough. We got some ideas.
Thank you so much.
I love you guys to the moon and back, and all of the viewers out there and the people who are watching. I love bringing authors to all of you, and I hope you had just as much fun as I obviously did for tonight's episode. You guys, I will be in touch as we always are. And if you just text me, keep me posted. Oh, James, where can we find you on social media?
Ooh, at James Wade Writer on Instagram, at James Wade Writer on Facebook. And if Twitter is the only thing that you do, then I'm at JW_writer, but I only retweet. I have a pinned tweet at the top that says, go to my Instagram.
Right.
So Instagram, Facebook, at James Wade Writer, and JamesWadeWriter.com, that is basically run by this lovely lady.
And we do a newsletter once a month. That's really cool.
Yep. So if
Love
you go
it.
there and sign up for our newsletter, we give away a bunch of free shit and do trivia.
Yeah. Who doesn't love trivia?
There you
It's
go.
super fun.
Jordan, you do a great job with that website. I
Thank
love
you very
it. I think it's terrific. You are doing all kinds of things. You're a product maven. You've got things on Amazon. Where can people find you on Amazon so they can see what you're doing?
Yeah, so if you type in Juniper Lane Provisions into the search bar on Amazon, you will find my kitchen organizer product, and it's super cute, and yeah, that'd be great.
And available. So guys, I have mine. You just have to get yours. It works wonderful. If I could just get my husband to use it.
Right,
See,
yeah.
well, the creator has the same problems. So
Yeah.
Then we would be okay. I managed to get them all in, but sometimes not everybody. All right, guys, have a great night. Mwah. I love seeing you. Love seeing you. And we will catch up soon.
Thanks,
All
Carol
right.
Ann.
thank y'all so much.
Happy Halloween.
Happy
Halloween.
Okay, now watch me try to end this.
We'll stay and judge you as long as it takes.
Yeah.
Yes, please. Judging, welcome. All the judging is welcome.